Welcome back to DONSLIFE. Welcome to the channel. Thanks for joining today. This video is a follow-up to a video I made about a month ago, giving some insight into some of my most affordable or cheapest truck mods for my GMC Sierra AT4. I think that video proved helpful, especially based on your feedback for not only new viewers, but longtime viewers alike. We have over 60 mods done to this truck. We have mods everything from minor to major, from dirt cheap to darn right expensive. So I've decided that we are going to make a short series with all of the mods to date. This will be part 2, so stick with me and we'll go through it. So this video is going to focus on about 10 more mods, give or take a few here and there, that are still affordable to moderately priced. Let's go. So before you go any further in this video, take a second. If you haven't watched the first one, click up here. I'll also put it in the video description below. Check out that video first, and that will bring you up to speed on exactly where we are right now. So a couple ground rules here. As I walk you through each of these mods, I will share approximate pricing in US dollars. Prices fluctuate all the time. I will leave links in the video description below to each of these mods. Sometimes those video links expire, meaning they change the URL address. Maybe they change their website a little bit. So if a link is broken at the time you're watching this, if it's 3 years from when this video was launched, the link might not work and I might not be able to go back and fix it because I'll be too old and cranky. I don't know. And don't forget, we launched the DONSLIFE Swag Hub. So if you want some merch that's related to the projects on this channel, definitely check it out. That link is also in the video description. And for your information, the most popular item on the DONSLIFE Swag Hub right now are hats. Okay, so the first mod we're reviewing is for the fog lights. This is from Boost Auto Parts. It is called, and this is the description, the 2007 to 2024 GM All Lights mod. So what it allows us to do, and there's other fog light mods that you can get from Boost Auto. This is just the one that I chose, but it allows you to keep your fog lights on when your high beams are on. In fact, they come on automatically. So if we go around to the front here, they should be on. By default, GM doesn't allow that to happen. So now it does. And while we're up here, I'll talk about the mod just around the fog light bezel here. This is a camo print film from Vivid. It's just a vinyl wrap that I put on here. I did it once in white before. Right now with this whole wrap that I've done, I like the look of this darker color with this black camo. So the material to do both of those, under $20. The fog light mod right here, $22.95. So next, because we're kind of along the same theme here from Boost Auto Parts again, we have a spotlight mod called the Spotlight Mirror mod for 2019 to 2024 Silverados and Sierras. What this allows us to do is our high beams will also trigger these to turn on. Otherwise, they'll work as normal when you're in park or moving at a very low speed. Then you can use these little spot lamps. Now I've replaced them with some smoke ones, which we'll get to in a minute and talk about the pricing. But for this mod here, it is simple. It's another 10-minute mod from Boost Auto Parts. But when we turn our high beams on again, these lights will automatically illuminate and stay on. That is not a function that's possible without this mod from the factory settings. Otherwise, your spotlights or puddle lamps, whatever you want to call them, they'll work as normal. And this mod is worth $49.95. Now, like I said, Boost does have other options to control your fog lights, your mirror lights, your cargo lights. That's just something that you have to decide what works best for you. But while we're here looking at the mirror, I have wrapped these before with vinyl. I have videos on that, also how to remove all of this. But this right now is just black with PPF. But to vinyl wrap those, about $20 in material. Now back to these spot lamps. These are aftermarket. I got these off Amazon. It's a recent install that I did, so it's a newer video. The original ones, if you're familiar with them, they have kind of a silver reflector in behind and 4 small LEDs here. This is still useless. The other ones are still useless. They're more of a marker light, in my opinion, versus a usable spot lamp, but they're there. I think they look better like this. That's why I did this mod. But to buy those is around $45. Yes, the illuminated fender badges. RGB lighting, we can change that to any color. I have them kind of an amber look right now. I've also put this gold or bronze hyper dip around here. So this one's a little trickier because the pricing can vary quite a bit. You can get an insert, something like this that I originally had, You could get something custom from Iconic that would just be a plastic insert to replace the original here. Something like that would start probably around $50. So these are my originals that were on here, but I had peeled off the GMC 6.2 logos that were there. And then I went to this one right here, which is a complete replacement, a full aftermarket look right here. That's the LED driver that goes in behind it. It's just a double-sided adhesive, and that goes over there. And away you go, Bob's your uncle. Now, quite often I get asked, how do you hook it up? I have mine hooked up to a switch. I'll show you in a second, but it's really easy if you wanted to hook this up, say, to your headlights. So when your headlights come on, it automatically comes on. Then you would just connect the positive, use a fuse tap to maybe the headlight fuse under the hood, or any other item that is on when the ignition is on, so you're not going to kill your battery. Mine is hooked up to a switch right in here. I will talk about this in an upcoming video. It's not going to be in today's video because of the price point, but that is a switch that I have hooked up, and that's how I wanted it. So Iconic badges, you could get started with an insert, which wouldn't be too difficult for, I'm guessing, around $50, give or take. And then you could get up to something like this. You are in the several hundreds, because if you want this one right here, they actually have to procure OEM plates from GM and then cut them all up and put LEDs in them and stuff like that. And that takes time and money. So to get to here, expensive. Nice starting point like that, inexpensive. Okay, so the next mod is a 6-piece ambient interior lighting kit. I have it hooked up to an upfitter switch right here, but I have to start the truck for it to be running, so I'm not going to do that right now. But let me show you how it's holding up, plus I'll overlay some footage of it in action. But we have 6 strips. So we've got a couple here in the pocket, and you can't even see them when you're sitting in the vehicle or getting in like this. However, if they're turned on, you can see the glow from them. That's the point. And then we have a strip secured here. We have one on the passenger side, and we have a couple back here just underneath the seats. They're kind of tucked in right under there. And they do a pretty good job lighting all of this up. And it's a simple mod. Maybe take you an hour, probably less. And when you buy one of these, at least the one I bought, comes with a 12-volt adapter for like a 12-volt auxiliary socket or cigarette lighter socket. And you can use that, and has a switch on it. I cut mine up and I wired it to my upfitter switches right here. And that's just the way I wanted it. So $50, fun little mod, makes a difference. Now this next mod brings with it a lot of praise, but a lot of heated opinion, we'll say. And that's the Auto Start Stop mod. So from AutoStop Eliminator, it allows you to program this button, but program it so it can be off by default or on by default. When you buy this vehicle, it is on by default. So you'd have to start the vehicle, get in, and then turn it off. And then while the ignition's running, it's not going to turn off on you when you come to a stop at an intersection. But what I like, and I really like, is now I have it off by default. So when I get into the vehicle, I get a little prompt in the dash, says your auto start stop is off instead of auto start stop on. And then I never have to think about it ever again. So it's been 3 years with this mod. I like it. It's worth $100, but I will warn you, to install this, you do have to be comfortable with taking off some panels. So you got to start here. You got to undo this, lift the cup holder out a bit, get this trim piece out from under here, pull this front piece out a little bit. You want to get access to behind these switches, and then you can plug the module in. So to me, it was well worth it. I've been driving my wife's Cadillac Escalade a little more often now, and it is driving me crazy, all the auto start stop stuff that's there. I know just by saying that, people in the comments are going to freak out and they'll be like, how hard is it just to go like that, Don? How hard is it? How hard is it to just go like that? It's not hard, but I don't want to have to do it. And for me, $100 to have it not work like that, that's worth it to me. I'd do it again. So while we're here, let's talk about the next mod. You probably noticed I don't have Chrome showing on any of the knobs inside my AT4. And to go further than that, they actually say AT4 on them. So these are made by Magnolia Advanced Designs. This gentleman reached out to me early on when he was just starting his business. It was just a small business starting on Facebook. He's been able to produce different versions, and he's been able to bring the pricing down. So now for as little as $40, you can start to pick what knobs you would want in different interiors. This happens to be a 2021 GMC Sierra AT4. They're really easy to install. They just pop off of the knobs. They're not going to break anything. I think that they give it more of a rugged look, and this is a rugged looking truck. Argue with me on that one, but I like them and I think they are a good value. So I'll leave a link in the description below for that. But like I said, starting at $40 depending on your vehicle, and then it goes up from there depending on how many you need and what versions. So I'm not trying to be snarky in this video with some of my comments, but I can tell you sometimes those comments, they'll leave you speechless. So if any of that's coming out in today's video, that's why. Let's get to the next one. Now behind these beautiful Brink 20-inch Insurgent wheels in piano black finish, we have some spacers. That's right, we have wheel spacers on this vehicle. Now I've had different wheels on this vehicle from time to time, so I've had two different spacers on here. This is a 2-inch spacer, but originally I put a 1.5-inch spacer on here. Now you're probably wondering, why didn't I just order this wheel with the right offset so I could have it where I wanted it, in this case flush with these fender flares from EGR? Well, this wheel didn't come with that offset. So instead, these are very close to the stock offset, and then I added the spacer. So if I ever sell this truck, which will happen because I'm going to upgrade to something else, stay tuned for that. It's not happening today, but it will happen. We may sell those wheels with it, and we may not sell it with the fender flares, and we may want the wheels to tuck properly and use a factory size tire. So that is why I'm using spacers right now. Now I feel completely safe with these spacers. These again are the 2-inch. I had 1.5-inch on here with my factory wheels to give it a little better stance, but it wasn't wide enough to work with these fender flares. And I went with an aftermarket wheel and tire and blah, blah, blah. So all that stuff. Now these are hub centric and they are installed properly. They are torqued to 140 pounds. And then the wheel is torqued to 140 pounds on it. And then you have to take the wheel off again and you have to retorque the spacer to 140 pounds. And then you have to put the wheel back on and retorque it to 140 pounds. So that way we know all the torque specs are there for both of the items that have been added to that hub. I will say spacers aren't for everybody. Some people claim that you're going to wear out your wheel bearings prematurely and things like that. These are a pretty minimal spacer. These are just a 2-inch, 1.5 before it. I have them on the Escalade right now just for a nice summer stance. I think it looks great. I'm going to keep rocking these spacers. Not everyone has to do it. This is a personal choice. I feel comfortable and safe the way that they're installed. I've towed heavy with them. I've towed up to the max capacity of this truck with these spacers, not a problem. And as for the wheel bearings, they seem to be in great shape. The truck is 3 years old. Take that at face value. But again, make your own educated decision if you want to get spacers. Now these spacers here are worth approximately $100 a pair. I know that's not very expensive. I wanted Bora spacers originally, but COVID was happening and I couldn't get them anywhere here in Canada. And I needed spacers at the time, so I just started picking up spacers. And the 1.5-inch ones that I had first, they worked great. So I got some 2-inch ones and I didn't have to break the bank. So feel free to get other brands, that's fine. This is the brand I'm using. They haven't failed me yet. They don't rust, they look good, and they work. So here's another one for you. We have rock lights. Maybe you didn't know this, but I have rock lights on the truck. They're tucked up in here. All our wires are hidden. Everything looks pretty good. It's daytime right now, so it's kind of hard to show off the look. But they are pretty bright. The only thing I don't like about them is they do not do a true white. So guess what? We're going to replace them in an upcoming video. I was just waiting for all the snow to melt. We're pretty much there. So soon I'm going to take these ones out and I'm going to install some upgraded ones that do RGB and white. So RGBW. These ones are just RGB. So that video will be coming out soon. But I have rock lights and they'll set you back about $100. And I ran all my wiring to my aux beam switch. So all I have to do is push a button. And now they're off. And the last mod for today that we are going to review are these ditch lights, pod lights, hood lights, whatever you want to call them. These ones here are made by Strands. They are the Siberia line and they have a 2-color DRL option. Right now I have the amber turned on. I can easily go in here and I can turn the amber off and turn the white on. So now we have a white DRL, just like that. And I don't know why I'm doing all the walking around. I have a remote for this, but since I'm already here, I can also turn on the floodlight and they are pretty darn bright. Plus I can rotate them and I can point them towards the ditch or I can straighten them back out. So let me take a moment to tell you exactly how I installed them. So the very first video, I had mounted some pod lights here, but they weren't this brand. They weren't the Strand Siberia ones. They were an Oxbeam 3-inch pod light right here. Nothing fancy, 3-inch pod light, probably about 60 bucks for the pair US, but you do need hood brackets. So the hood brackets that I found were made by Putco. They're these brackets right here. These are specific to this truck. So they just mount to your hood brackets right there. They take some playing around. I've heard reports that some people get vibration. I didn't really have that problem. See a little bit when I slam the hood, but when I'm driving, it's not like they're shaking the whole time. A gravel road, yes, you'll get a little bit of that, but so does your rear view mirror. So does pretty much everything. But they are pretty stable and they look pretty good. I did have to put mine on little plastic risers. This is from a home theater TV wall mount kit, and that was a great way to give them a little more height so the wiper arm wouldn't hit the bracket. The Oxbeam lights that were here, the bracket was hitting a bit. I had to shave it down, and that's where this scratch on my wiper arm came from right there. So that was from the first pod lights I put here. Since I put these ones on with this spacer, no other adjustments were required. So the Putco brackets are worth about $65 for the pair. And these lights right here by Strands are about $120 each. I'll leave links for all of this in the video description below, but I really like these pod lights because they match the light that's down there, the light bar, and they match the big guy up there on top of the sport bar. Those will be reviewed in upcoming videos. So whether it be these Oxbeam lights, you can see the cable isn't that long on them. It's about a little over a foot. Similar on the Strands, it's a little over a foot. You are going to need wiring to extend all the way to whatever switch device that you're going to use or wiretap system. The link that I leave you in the video description with BrightSource, they will have everything you need to add to these lights if you want to do a full thorough install. But if you just order the lights themselves, they're going to look like this, and they'll have an adapter on the end that you need to connect to something or chop it up and extend the wires to a switch with the proper relay, fuse, etc. Well, there you go. I wanted to keep this short, so that's my list for today. These are actually kind of fun to make, so I'm going to keep making more. This is part 2. Stay tuned for part 3, so make sure you subscribe so you don't miss anything. And again, if you didn't watch part 1, you've got to go back and watch that one too, so you're fully caught up. And don't forget the DONSLIFE Swag Hub. We are going to put more merch on there, more selection, more variety. We're going to get some Denali things on there, some more Cadillac things on there. So whatever vehicle you may own that is kind of featured within the realm of the DONSLIFE channel, then there might be something there for you. And again, the hats are pretty popular, so definitely check it out. And it also supports the channel and allows me and Mrs. DONSLIFE to continue what we've been doing. So on that note, if you liked today's video, hit that like button. Please consider subscribing, and we'll talk to you next time.